Hi everybody, welcome to Stamping with Melva. I'm Melva Peters and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in British Columbia, Canada. And you can find me online at stampingwithmelva.com. It's Wednesday, and on Wednesdays, for the last couple of weeks, I've been going live at 2 o'clock on Wednesdays and sharing a technique with you. So schedules have kind of changed and I'm going to kind of keep it this way for a while. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I will be live at 2 o'clock Pacific. Tuesday is my sketch challenge, Wednesday is a technique, and Thursday is a mystery challenge. So hopefully you can join me, whether it's live or on the replay. I hope you'll be able to join me. So today it's a technique, and I'm going to share Emboss Resist. And I know I've done this before. I love this technique, and I love the effect. I've used this a lot. It just is such a pretty technique, and you can do all sorts of things with it. I'm using the Inked and Tile stamp set, which is quickly becoming a favorite stamp set. It is a bundle. It's a punch bundle. And the paper, the designer series paper, is absolutely stunning with it. But I'm just using the stamp set for this because there's a really lovely leaf. And I think it would work perfectly for Embossed Resist. So let me switch over to my desktop and we'll get started. All right, so this is the Inked and Tiled stamp set. The punch that goes with it is two different shapes. So it actually it doesn't punch out any of the images. So it's a little interesting with this one, but the stamp set is absolutely stunning. I'm using this leaf. This flower is really, really pretty, stamped in multiple colors or stamped off. Just lovely. It is a rubber stamp, and these images are 95%. So the actual, and I just realized I didn't look at that when I cut my paper. So I hope I actually have a big enough piece of basic white cardstock and pretty peacock for my image. I think I do. Yes, I do. That's funny. I always tell you what they are, and then as I was cutting my paper, I didn't really look at it. So I'm using this really pretty leaf. It's just, I love it. Okay. And of course, I think I'll do a thank you because I tend to do thank you cards. Let's see, thank you. And let's find something for the inside. There's this kind of really very irregular stripes that I think make a great background, but I think it'll do something. We'll use it from the inside of the card. Okay, so that's everything we need for this. Okay, so my supplies. I've got a piece of Pretty Peacock. So I'm using Pretty Peacock and Lost Lagoon together. I think it's a really pretty color combination. So my Pretty Peacock is 5.5 by 8.5, and we'll score it at 4.25. You could use 4.25 by 11 and score it at 5.5. That works too on this kind of card. Okay. So as always, grab your bone folder, and this is the raised line, so of the mountain, this fold into the mountain, and use your bone folder. Okay, now then I cut a piece of Lost Lagoon, and I've already gone ahead and I embossed it using the fern embossing. So I'm going to do a little bit of blending on this just to kind of bring up that embossed texture. And I'm using a small blending brush in this case with Lost Lagoon, and I'm just going to kind of go over just to add a little bit of just kind of make sure your embossed texture really pop. In this case, it's the fern leaves, or I don't know if that's what they'd call them. I'll call them leaves. I was going to say fronds. I don't know if that's correct. Palm fronds. We're just going to add a little bit of color. When I use my blending brush, I pick up ink and then I kind of tap into the lid, and then you can kind of pick up some of that from the lid. Or you could just tap it down. I do that just to kind of not get kind of blotches. It's a bit blotchy, but I'm going to cover it with part of this anyway, So I think we're all right. Okay, so this is going to go down when I have liquid glue. Got embellishments stuck all over the place. Or sorry, when I've got an embossing folder, I use liquid glue because it gets into those nooks and crannies. So this piece can just go down onto that pretty peacock. Isn't that, I just really love that color combination. Okay, so emboss resist. What we're doing with emboss resist is we are stamping using Versamark. And then we are going to use embossing powder. Now you could use clear. I'm using white in this case, so I'm thinking my image is going to pop a little bit more than if I had used clear. So we'll see. But basically, we are going to ink up our stamp using the Versamark. Stamp it on our piece of, like I said, I almost missed this size, piece of basic white cardstock. Like that. You can't see that. And then we are going to take and sprinkle it with, this is the white embossing powder. I keep mine in a plastic container because I make such a mess with it. I just find this better. So we're going to cover it with our white embossing powder. And if you get a little bit of an extra, I've got a little bit of an extra line. Well, it's not too bad, but you can use the brush from the, this is the brush from the Editions. So just kind of brush that off. And then somewhere, here they are. These are the tweezers from the embossing resist or embossing Editions kit. I'm just going to sweep off and clean up this a little bit, and you can use this to hold. So get your heat tool out. Hello. And hopefully that's not too loud. So hold your heat tool over your embossing powder until you see it go from this dull finish to a nice shiny glossy finish. So hold it over top of part of it, don't move it around, and once you see it start to melt, then you can start to move it. So mine started to melt. Alright, doesn't take too long, especially it's a pretty small image. Don't keep holding your heat tool over top of it because it will cause the embossing powder to just kind of soak into that paper. Okay, I'm going to leave that sit. You see why I use a plastic container? Even with a plastic container and a spoon, I still make quite a mess. Okay, so while that's kind of cooling off and drying a little bit, I have got Lost Lagoon and Pretty Peacock. So I'm going to do a little bit of kind of two colors just to see if I can just put the, the double color on it. So I'm going to take my Lost Lagoon and I just start rubbing gently over top of this image, and it's like magic. I just love this, where it just suddenly starts to pop off of the page. And I think with the white, it should pop even more against that Lost Lagoon and Pretty Peacock. Okay, so I'm going to kind of keep it at that using the Lost Lagoon. Bring in my Pretty Peacock, and I'm going to just add some Pretty Peacock to it. So the Pretty Peacock's got, more of a blue tinge, especially if you compare it to the Lost Lagoon. I love these two colors, whether they're separate or combined. I'll go in the middle. So I've got this whole piece kind of covered, which is okay. Just a little bit in the background, just to There we go. So you can, it's kind of hard to know when to stop. All right, I think we can stop. Okay, Melva, stop. All right, so there is my piece. Now, what you probably want to do, and I don't know that I've got, let me see if I've got a piece here. I don't probably. What you want to do is wipe this off with a piece of paper towel or Kleenex, because you've got, there, I use my finger, where you have the white embossing powder, you've got ink on it. So again, it's best to use a paper towel or a Kleenex, but you've got ink on this, and so you want to rub that off so it won't soak in. It will just sit there on the surface, and you can see I've got inky fingers, but it just makes that kind of white leaf pop. Okay, so let's finish our card. So we'll use some liquid glue. You could use tear and tape adhesive. Sometimes when you do heat emboss, the card stock warps a little bit. So I'm just going to hold this down because my edges were a little curled. Okay, there we go. So that's going to go on there. And then I've got a little piece of basic white. And I'm going to stamp my thank you sentiment. Now, when I used this thank you sentiment the other day, clearly I don't have the label on correctly, because yeah, I know that's definitely don't touch anything white for a while, Betty. So if I stamp this how it is, how it looks straight, it's very crooked when I look at it. So note to self, that's a little better. Okay, let's do that. There we go. That's a little straighter. So yeah, sometimes when I put my actually, you know what I've got? I have got a baby wipe. Let's use a baby wipe on these fingers of mine before I do touch the inside of the card. Oh no. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm not sure who said that, and I don't mean to laugh at you about dumping your entire container of embossing powder. So you can see I've just taken, I'm trying to be very gentle with my baby wipe because it's wet, but you can see as I continue to wipe my leaf on the white, it's even pulling, oopsie, there we go, pulling more of the ink that's kind of just sitting on it. So, all right. So yeah, I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh at whoever said that, but I can imagine me doing that because it wouldn't be the first time for me to do that. That's why I thought these plastic containers would just be a little bit better for me than trying to take the little jar that they come in and dump it into this. So this is the tray that you get. Oh, hey, Peg. Don't forget, going to streamyard.com/Facebook and give permission, and then I can see who's commenting. So this is what the Embossing Editions kit looks like. You get this tray, you get the embossing buddy, which is, oh my gosh, so important, and the tweezers and the brush. And I just find, because now I have to, if I poured my embossing powder in here, then I have to try and get it back into the small container. So for me, using these plastic Ziploc containers or dollar store containers works. I have one of those as well, Betty, those desktop, but I always forget to pull it out. Okay, so let's actually just take some dimensionals. And I think I'm just going to put this kind of at an angle. It looks kind of good as I laid it down there, so at an angle. And then I've got my thank you that I will pop up. Probably should have put some ribbon on this, but I didn't grab the ribbon. So I'll just take and put that thank you right down there. Keep it pretty simple. And then I've got, these are the Sequence Trio Pack. So there's white, Pretty Peacock, and pink. So let's put some Pretty Peacock ones on here. Oopsie. Wanted to go somewhere else. There we go. Okay, so now the inside of the card, I've got a piece of basic white. I'm going to take the Pretty Peacock, and this is that stamp that stamps kind of just a bunch of kind of lines, almost looks like waves. So let's just take and stamp that kind of across the bottom. I like to have something. Last night I was meeting someone about a card class, and I took some samples, and she said, oh gosh, I need to buy a card. Can you sell me one of your cards? I need a thank you card. And so luckily I had a thank you card with me, and I quickly looked to make sure I had finished the inside so that you know, it was a more or less a finished card. I didn't have an envelope for her, but she was okay with that. So I always like to finish the card inside in some way so that I can use it, or I can sell it to somebody who wants to use it. Somewhere I've lost my, oh well, okay, there we go. All right, there is the card. So that's the embossed resist technique. It's very fun to do. And if you have, you know, biggish images like this leaf, there was you might still have it. It was a butterfly, or part of a butterfly, that was absolutely stunning. It was a large kind of monarch butterfly wings, and it was absolutely stunning when you do it in embossed resist. And I just sponged it around the edges. And these little, the small size of blending brushes is perfect for the embossed resist technique. One other thing that you could do, and maybe I'll do that, just because I'm feeling like I need something more on this. This is Wink of Stella, and you could just take and splatter some Wink of Stella. So I'm just going to take and make sure I've got some. So just take your Wink of Stella, get some liquid on it, and then just tap it on your finger, and then you've got kind of splatter. You could do other colors too. Now this is going to take a minute to dry, so don't touch it until it dries, because it'll go from nice little splatters to kind of pooling and bigger dots of Wink of Stella. Hey, Gianne, welcome. Thank you, Judy. So there we go, emboss resist, easy technique to do with your ink pads and then a blending brush. If you don't have a blending brush, you can use a sponge dauber. Blending brushes for me are much better. I don't tend to get the big blotches of color like I was getting when I was using the sponge dauber. So whether you use the small one or the big one, it's up to you, or maybe it's a combination of the two. All right, everybody, thanks so much for joining me. Now, I had planned to be live tomorrow, but I completely forgot that my husband has a doctor's appointment and we have to drive to it. So we're kind of gone for a good chunk of the day. Hey, Sherry, welcome. And so I won't be live. I may get a recorded video done, but I'm not positive I will actually get that done before tomorrow. So I may not be live. So join me again on Saturday at it'll probably be closer to 12 noon on Saturday, because I have a class. So hopefully you can join me then. All right, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for joining me. Hope you have a great day. Happy stamping. Bye.